Roll call, please.
Aaron Hallett,
Here.
Ashley Jones,
Here.
Bill Lowe,
Here.
Kim York, Ruth Johnson,
Here.
Paul Kaufman, and Billy King are absent.
All right, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Thank you. And our mission is preparing each student for a successful and meaningful life. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. All right, on to recognitions. Actually, Mr. Lowe is going to help you tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here this evening. It's our favorite part of the meeting. We get a chance to recognize the accomplishments of students and staff and community members. And we have several students that we're recognizing tonight and in a variety of categories. And of course, this time of year, it's hard to know for sure how many of them might be here, but we're going to read everybody's name off, and we have a certificate for them. And if they're not here, we'll pass it along to their sponsor to make sure that they can get that certificate. Last month when we were together, we recognized our band students who received gold ratings, or what used to be 1 ratings at State Music Festival. Our choir students could not be here at that time because many of them were involved in the Blue Star Awards that were happening at the same time. So we've invited them to come this evening, and so as I read your name, if you're here, please come forward. Gold medals in both vocal solo and women's sophomore octet is Peyton Bollinger. Gold medal solo, Taylor Bates. Let's see, Taylor. Gold medal solo, Cooper Carlson. How about Katie Kluel? How about Chloe Coons? Let's see her. How about Addison Hansen? Kylie Hansen. Sam Riker, I don't see. Gold medal vocal solo and part of the men's quartet, Matthew Stewart. Gold medal vocal solo, Sydney Strauss. Yeah, it might be summer. How about for men's quartet, Jacob Elliott? Robbie Keys, I do not see Robbie. Mark Moorhead. Claire Eberhardt. Kirsten Greer. Olivia Pace. J.C. Robertson. Hey. Also part of the sophomore octet, Gracie Romine. Jackie Stratton. How about Corinne Williams? All right, so those are our choir students who got gold ratings this state. We thank you for being here. Let's get a photo together here real quick. All right. Oh, thank you. So I mentioned those Blue Star Awards. I'm going to ask Mr. Schnocky to come forward and help me if he wouldn't mind. And we're going to recognize some of our participants in that, those that could be with us this evening. And we couldn't invite all the participants because it's such a large ensemble, but we have a few that we hope are here this evening. We'll start with an individual award first for outstanding accomplishment by a student in choreography, Abby Ball. And we have 3 other larger group categories I'm going to mention that I'm going to ask Mr. Schnocky to introduce the other students who are part of any of that effort. First is the award for hair and makeup design for the entire set. Go ahead.
This is Devin Phillips. We had 60 kids in the show, and if we brought in all the crew people, we would have had over 100 kids here. So we talked about maybe getting a representative group. So I asked some of our upperclassmen that were involved with some of these groups to come in And obviously Abby won an individual one, so we wanted to bring her in. So this is Devin Phillips. She was part of our hair and makeup crew for the Robber Bridegroom, as well as a number of other shows this year.
The next large group award is for the outstanding ensemble.
All right, and if we could go ahead, yeah, come on up. And then you two girls, we have some crossover with choir, obviously, with the musical. So we have Jasmine Berry, and then since JC and Peyton are here as well, they were a part of that outstanding ensemble.
And then, drum roll please, the overall award winner for outstanding overall production, which is like 3 out of the last 4 or 5 years, which is a tremendous accomplishment. So that's the cast and crew, the entire cast and crew of the Robber Bridegroom. So congratulations to each and every one of you. We'll let them pass that down to one of the ladies for the picture. Mr. Stonky, why don't you jump in there with him? Be
Okay.
part of the photo if you don't mind.
All right.
So if you haven't been to the Blue Star Awards, it's truly an interesting evening, and sorry that some of us missed it this year because it was the same night as our board meeting, but our theater department is always represented well, and just
There's normally over 50 shows from around the greater Kansas City area that are a part of it, and they just select one as the outstanding overall production. I hope I didn't mess up your picture.
Yep. Great job, everybody. All right, our next group is our track and field students who competed at the state level and earned all-state designation. And I know many of them are not with us this evening, but I'll just read through the list, and those are here. Please come forward. First, Miranda Dick was 3rd place in a 3,200 and part of the 7th place 4x800 team. Lexi Blackman was 5th place, part of the 4x400 team. Lorana Mitchell was 5th place on the 4x4 team, 7th place on the 4x8 relay team. Kylie Mitchell was 5th place on 4x4 relay team. Kylie is here. Garyana Pearl was also a part of that 4x400 team. Marissa Dick was 7th place in the 4x800. Several of these students I know are out of town. Mackenzie Stucker was on the 7th place 4x800 team. Jolie McClellan was on the placed 8th in the javelin. Jolie is here this evening. Jaron Jones was part of the 6th place 4x400 relay team. Brandon Reyes was also a part of that 4x400 relay team, as was Luke Grimm. We have with us this evening Braden Zahner, who is 5th place in 3,200 meters. And also Byron King was 6th place in shot put, and they are out of town. They could not be here this evening. And yes, that is the son of board member Billy King, so congratulations to him. And then the last one I'll note, and I don't believe is here this evening, is Hudson Bailey, who finished All-State in 4 different events. He was 4th place in the high jump with a new school record. He was 6th place in the 300 hurdles. He was part of the 4x400 relay team that finished in 6th place, and he was also 7th place in the 110-meter hurdles. So that's 4 different events being All-State and the largest class, which is a very impressive feat, obviously. So never been done here at Ray-Pec. So, and the nice thing is he's got 1 more year left, right? All right, so let's give them a round of applause for their effort. For all of our students who are part of these programs, it takes a tremendous amount of dedication and commitment, lots of extra time. I'm glad that we have Coach Cruz here tonight to talk about the outcomes of all of our activity programs, but they're just representative of what our students can do and their extra hard work that they put into it. They spend a lot of time and hours outside of the regular school day in all these different activities, and it's rewarded with this recognition. So thank you for being here. Great job. Now, I usually give this speech. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting if you want. If you want to stay and listen to Coach Cruz, you can, but otherwise you're free to go at this time. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move along now to, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Okay, on to public comments.
None tonight.
Okay. Informational items, extracurricular activities update. Mr. Cruz.
Good evening. My name is Tom Cruz. I am the activities director at the high school. What I can say is, real quick, about 7 minutes of my program just took place prior to. One of the things that is really special for our kids and the sponsors and coaches is the fact that you recognize their accomplishments each month, and I do appreciate that, and I know they do too. And it is a special place, and at the high school, we have the ability and just so much talented kids, and it's been wonderful. And you know, we talk about Schnocke and the theater department a lot, and they deserve a lot more. They're that good. So, real quick, I am starting year 18 as the AD at Ray-Pec, year 20 in the district. Have Eric Arnold as assistant principal and AD at South Middle School. Stacy Johnson starting her second year at East Middle School, and then Karen Moore, my admin assistant, who is awesome. Absolutely love her. Through the activities and athletics department, you can see the mission with basically what we try to do from the activities and athletic department, getting as many people involved as possible. Usually, and it takes a lot of people, like Dr. Monsa said earlier, doing a lot of extra time outside of the school day. So a lot of the things that the opportunities that we provide for our students go beyond the classroom and those kind of things. And you see at the bottom there, nearly 1,000 students involved in one or more MISHA sponsored activities throughout the school year, which is always a goal of ours. We continue to grow as a district and as the high school building itself. Just getting more and more kids involved has always been our goal, and we feel like we're on path to continue to do those things. Just some program highlights, and I know a few of them were taking place here before, but you can see with the band students, 53 students getting selected all district is outstanding. 19 students selected all district choir, and some of those were here getting recognized again tonight. State speech, very little was said about that tonight because of the Blue Star, but state champions in state speech, duet acting, also state champion in storytelling, as well as district championship was won. You see there that what the theater students did, just an amazing job with Robert Bridegroom. And then I just added this wasn't in yours, but get to my pointer, this past week, Ella, and I wish Todd was still here. What an awesome, if you got an opportunity to watch that, just having the dad and daughter win a national championship, just absolutely amazing. And listening to that speech that she performed was just amazing. She did an awesome job, and she's back as well next year. So we're kind of interested to see what that might look like next year. Some program highlights continuing on. 59 academic all-state athletes, which when I went back through and looked, the highest I could find was 46. So we exceeded that by a high number. 38 academic all-state students from activities standpoint. Our girls cross-country team was third at state this year with 3 all-state runners. Boys cross-country team placed 9th. Going down the line, cheerleading was second in state. Again, we recognized our track athletes and our first ever male medalist in 4 events with Hudson. And again, he is back, so we're excited about that too. Our softball team won a district championship and also placed 3rd at state. Boys wrestling won a district championship, which was a lot extra special because we got to host districts in wrestling this year, so we got to do that at home. Girls wrestling had our first ever state qualifiers, an exciting time as that program continues to grow. Our girls' team tennis won district championships again, back-to-back years. Then our doubles team won a sectional championship. Prowlers were third at state, and of course, Special Olympics, our basketball team won 2 state titles, which was awesome. Continuing on, 37 students signed letter of intents this year. We had our national signing day on February 6th, which was a snow day. We still continued, we were like, we're going to try it, and we had signing day, and we had 25 sign on National Signing Day on a snow day in a packed gym. It was awesome. But we went ahead and went for it, and I'm glad that we did. It was a special time for all those families and those athletes. 8 teams and activities qualified for the Outstanding Academic Achievement Award between 3.5 and 4.0 as a team, and then 14 also qualified for the Distinguished Academic Achievement. So the emphasis placed and that's out of 24. So 22 out of 24 is phenomenal and always a goal of ours. The robotics team this year, first time qualified for the World Championships after their performance at the KC Regional Competition. TSA was first in video game design at state, and many second and third place categories, and there were some national qualifiers there as well. DECA, 9 students qualified for state, which is the most we've ever had qualify there, and then 1 for nationals in both DECA and FBLA. Our sports teams this year, we look in the community piece and the community side. One of the things that I'm always excited about is the community awareness and the ability to raise funds for cancer, and each of our teams kind of take pride in doing a cancer game and cancer awareness night. And we raised over $17,000 this year, which is truly remarkable. Just an overview facility-wise, excuse me, we have a lot of exciting things going on, obviously, this time. The stadium, the new track, the new turf, a new scoreboard coming in, also painting of gyms at South Middle School, the high school, the auxiliary gym. We've got a nice facelift taking place, and just an exciting time, you know, both for the community, obviously for our school district, and the students are really excited about it. You know, watching the turf, that process, just the last month has been really, really cool for our kids to see, and now they're starting on the track. So I feel like everything looks to be going in pretty good time from a time standpoint. It's going to start getting hot, so I think the track really likes the hot weather. So hopefully that everything will be good there. I couldn't without thanking the Buildings and Grounds Department, our custodial group, for the amount of work that they continue to do, and they always answer when I call, and I call them a lot. But you know, just the work that they were able to do from our Buildings and Grounds group, just getting our new scoreboards at baseball, softball, and at wrestling last year, getting those installed and getting them wired and all that good stuff that takes place with that. And then the work that they've done just in the underlying work, getting our scoreboard at the stadium ready to go when it gets delivered. Moving on, from a district standpoint, what we got to host this year, we hosted last year, cross country, boys soccer, wrestling, and then we hosted a quarterfinal in state softball, which our team won, which was awesome. Some of the things from the activity standpoint we're excited about, obviously the new marching band uniforms. We're hoping that we can pull some strings and maybe see them this year, but we'll see how that timing kind of works out from that standpoint. Excited also about the risers for the choir department. One of the major changes that's coming this year that just happened with a vote of member schools in April was the physicals, which were usually a yearly physical, are now going to a 2-year cycle. So that is, and basically with physicals, it's from the year of, or the date of the physical. It's good for the next 2 years from the date of the physical. And I think one of the main reasons behind that, really, to be honest with you, would have been is that the individual students have the opportunity to get a physical from their doctor, you know, and sometimes insurances, it's year to date for your next physical. So sometimes the way that falls, that was kind of a big push, and it came from the from the Athletic Trainers Association. That was the recommendation that came through. And so that's one of the things that's a little bit different this year. And I'll kind of talk a little bit more on that in just a minute when we talk about physical night. But participation-wise, and you'll see our numbers here in just a second, we had an increase in our extracurricular, all in our freshman, sophomore, and senior classes this year, and included a increase in those competing in 2 or more sports and activities as a freshman and junior as well. And to be honest with you, it is very tough for a student. We had a couple crossovers here from choir and theater. It is really, really tough to do more than one activity. And being the size school that we are, it's really tough to do that. But our goal is to try and get them to do as many things as possible. And you see it start to dip a little bit when they become a junior and senior, but you'll see our freshman numbers were awesome as far as 2 and 3 sport kids and 2 and 3 sport activity kids trying to do more and more things. We saw our first letter winners in girls wrestling, which was exciting. Again, we talked about our physical night just a little bit. We had a February physical night and then a July. We will continue to offer the July physical date. This year will be July 25th at the high school. We have, that's going to kind of be our date. We're going to look for that usually that second or third Thursday in July and try to run that as our physical night, which kind of coincides with everybody getting back to school with registration and that kind of thing. So we're going to kind of stick with that night. Couldn't do it without the local help from our doctors, EMTs, nurses, and I see Nurse's here tonight. She's one of our rock stars on physical night. 11 students we took this year to the Suburban Conference Sportsmanship Summit. Myself and those students go, and we meet with all 26 schools in the Suburban Conference. We have what we think is appropriate and what we recommend, at venues and at games, how we expect our kids to act. And this is the second year we've done it. We're excited about it. It's something we're going to do annually as a group, and we're really fortunate the Suburban Conference allows us to put that on. We continue to see the GPAs are higher for involved students as compared to those who do not participate, and we'll look real quick at those numbers. Here's our participation data. One of the big things, find the pointer there, 54% of our students, so over half of our students, and again, that 999 is duplicate, so those that are doing two or more, but really excited about 54% of our kids. Anytime you can have half of them involved, when you have, if you have 1,800 students, over 1,800, almost 1,900 now, and it's not going anywhere but up. So we would love to see that continue to stay at 54, or even try to make a jump, because we did have quite a few more this year than last year in our numbers, but our numbers also increased in students, total number of students as well. We look at our freshman numbers. Half of our freshman class participated in an athletic sport, which that 142 we would like to see a little bit higher, but 142 of a class of 487 is really, really good. 2 years ago, I set a goal to get, we were at like 33% of our freshmen doing things, so we've jumped all the way to 49. It's really, really exciting, and that is the key time to catch them. Catch them when they're freshmen, get them involved, and it really has, it's taken off. And then one of my favorite slides always is, just you look at the cumulative GPA of our groups and just how important it is for them to be involved. The activities, the athletics, the discipline, the time management skills that's involved in doing that is very, very impressive. And you look how important it is to get them involved in doing something. And that's, I know we don't spend near enough time talking about the grades and the academic piece, but the fact that if you get them involved, their grades are going to be where they need to be. And we feel like that is such an important piece. And we talk about the discipline that it takes to do a lot of different things, but the academic piece from our standpoint is most important. And you can see that when they're involved in that, those great, really good things happen. Club membership, our clubs. One of our extracurricular and non-curricular and over 700 students are members of these, of 27 clubs that we have going on at the high school. One of the things that they do, you can see we raised over $15,000 this year for Special Olympics. The polar plunge, and I'm just going to kind of jump on a couple things here if I could. You can see here the polar plunge. There's a couple photos here. There's a gentleman, I don't know if you can see it, in a red shirt. I don't know if you can see him from here, but he's here tonight. So I'd like to I'd like to ask him, do you know what happened on your next step?
I do know what happened.
That had to be ice that you were under.
Yeah, as I stepped off that next step, my foot went right out from under me, and
Yeah, you
down I
didn't
went.
make the water, which was disappointing.
Well,
It was disappointing.
I still
But
got in and out ahead of most of the people. I just bounced right up.
You got right up and went.
Yeah.
And there are photos that I'm willing to share. I just didn't
Yeah,
think putting
he's
in
got
this.
the real stuff.
It was classic. But and the fact that I pointed you out means that I'm going to do my first ever polar plunge next year. I am on for it next year. I've not done it yet, but that will be my first one. Obviously, we were the second highest school in fundraising in the state for the Special Olympics with that. Muscular dystrophy, $1,000. If the second Tuesday in November, I don't know, there's something going on. I don't know what it is. Is it the first Tuesday that they vote? Anyway, second Tuesday is a real big day, because that's the faculty basketball game with Ray-Pec and Belton. And this year will be at Belton High School. Belton has a brand new gym that I think that will be the first basketball game played in it this year. So it's kind of a big deal if you'd like to be there. I know our students, they love it. They love going to that thing. And again, we raise good money that night, and very few injuries happen that we know about. We raised over $5,500 in scholarships through our clubs this year, donated 200 pints of blood, and had 30 potential donors for bone marrow. 13 clubs sponsored local families. You can see they're part of our Adopt a Family program, and assisted a lot of local families in need of assistance. There's at the bottom there, the student club members completed hundreds of hours of community service. You can see all the different things we did there. You know, here's one of my favorites too. That you really can't tell who these ladies are, but that is Apple Bus Company. They come and do our trunk or treat. They have a trunk, and it is I think that number one, they're a little scary because they want the clown. But the fact that they do it every year, it's so awesome that they're a part of that too. But I wanted to throw that photo in there. And then some of our photos that just, you figure out which ones. That one of the hardest things for me to do, but I absolutely love going through photos, is putting them on these. And you see that there's lots of really good things going on. But that's pretty much it for me. If you have any questions.
Well, I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say, Special Olympics is very important to us. And as we go around the state to every functions and stuff, the amount of support we get from you guys as far as the department and everything it blows everybody away. So just wanted to say thank you for continuing to support that program, and for hopefully it continues to grow there. So good.
Well, and I appreciate the focus of developing that internal community service aspect, because that's something that they carry forward with for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
And being an active part of your community is a big piece of being an active adult.
Yep.
Eventually, and being a productive part of your community. So that's a big piece to begin to instill in them.
I touched on it earlier, the time and the commitment of the staff members who help sponsor and coach all these different groups. It goes way above and beyond the little amount of stipend they get for that work, and they all do it because they're passionate and want to see the kids be successful. And I think they all know that the lessons they're learning in their activities are going to help them in school and beyond school. So I think that's why most of them do it. So.
Wanted to touch on something that he mentioned. I had a couple of community members from outside of our district reach out and share their appreciation for us hosting the prom for them every year. So thank you for
There's a
doing
prom
that
photo in there.
for
It's
our
awesome.
community, because those kids love those things. And that's a huge deal to them. So thank you for working with the community as a whole on things like that too, not just about Ray-Pec kids. Any other comments?
Really looking forward to Polar Plunge.
Yeah, I kind of went out there, didn't I? I put
Yeah,
myself out there.
yeah.
But
Accountability, you're on
We'll see
video.
what my wife thinks when I get home tonight and tell her, hey, by the way, I volunteered you and me for the Polar Plunge.
She'd be a perfect part
Oh, I
of
didn't
that.
say, I didn't say her?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought Kim was doing it too.
okay, thank you, Bill.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, moving on to health services program.
So I'll have to jazz it up a little. Hi, I'm Jennifer Johnson. I am the nursing supervisor for the fabulous Ray Moore Peculiar School District. I just finished my 14th year as a school nurse. I'm trying to remember, I know I've been a supervisor without a health room to manage for 5 years, but I think I've been a supervisor since 2009, maybe? When H1N1 came out, that was my first year, so you jump in with both feet. How you go. I have, and I want to say thank you very much for the very generous raise that the nurses received this year. We were very excited, or for next year, very excited about that, and I know that was something we touched on the last time I was up here, and so I do want to share my thanks and my appreciation of that happening. And so, oh, I'm gonna change this now. My staff, I'm got to keep almost all of them. The Pam Madden decided she and her family were going to move south, so they moved, and so we just hired a new nurse from North Kansas City that will take the place at East Middle School, and then Jerica Williams, our CNA, who was our one-to-one nurse, the student graduated, so her services were done after that 1 year, and but I get to keep everybody else, and so I'm very excited about that. Lots of great people that have been here with me for the long haul, so I am very fortunate to be able to keep those wonderful ladies working with me. We do health screenings, do a little bit more than Band-Aids and ice packs, medications, acute and chronic illnesses, look at immunizations, have to do a report every year in October for the state, try to act as, as much education, counseling as needed. I've found in the last couple of days of summer school that I need to get my counseling refresher. I need a refresher in some of that because we've had some pretty heavy mental health stuff going on, and I have met Miss Rowe, Lori. I was wanting to say Lisa, and she and I had a conversation, and so I'm excited to get to work with her and have her give us some guidance too, as far as some of those pretty serious kiddos that need some extra TLC that sometimes the counselors aren't always available to provide. So the nurses are going to kind of pick up where we can. And then this were some health room statistics. Usually I kind of do averages, but I thought it was kind of fun. I figured out how to do a new report, a different report through SIS, so I could see that there were over 67,000 visits to the health room. 13,000 of them were just for daily medications. And I believe we have 102 children that receive medications daily, and that doesn't include inhalers. So that's just, and that's that's about the high. It's not, because some kiddos take medicine and don't take it and go back and forth, but I thought that was a pretty significant number. And then I found that headaches were the most common complaint, followed by stomach aches and sore throats. And then I thought this was kind of cute, because I would have thought for sure that the kindergartners would have been the most, the class that visited the most, but it was our first graders. So the first graders visited more, and then the kindergartners, and then followed by the second graders. And I can say that there were probably an average of 45 to 50 students that visited the health rooms in the elementary level, about 45 that visited in the middle school level, and an average of 75 to 80 on the daily at the high school level. And I can tell you that that was headaches, and a lot of ibuprofen went into them, was given to them out. That's what I need to do, is count how many doses of ibuprofen we give out. So we'll have nursing students that come in and shadow, and they will say, wow, I had no idea that, you guys gave out so much, Tylenol and ibuprofen, as far as, like it's candy. So, but it gets them, right back to the classroom. So these are some statistics that are always kind of interesting. And the numbers that are in parentheses were the previous totals that I had. So we've gone up we went down, we lost two. I don't know if that's really the right word, but we had 25 diabetics. Now we have 23 that I'm aware of. And then the students, with the food allergies, that's increased. Everything else has increased. So that the EpiPen was kind of a big one to me because it doubled. It more than doubled. So that was interesting that there are more and more kiddos that are needing EpiPens. And, then there's that whole situation of not having enough money to pay for the EpiPens because they cost so much and all of that. But we do keep the stock medicines in the health room, and we've had to use a few of them, but we were very fortunate to be able to have them, and so I'm very pleased with that. Again, the seizure disorder or history of seizure. So if they listed it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're actively seizing at this time, but they've had a history of it, and so the nurses are dealing with some pretty serious stuff, and so we just like to make sure that we are all up to date on all the newest trends and whatnot. So. And then I believe there were 10 times that we activated emergency medical services that were actually needed and transported students or staff members. That included the staff members as well. So one of the highlights of this year, in January, we received a very generous donation from the Peculiar Charitable Foundation, and we added 3 more AED machines to the district. And I think the biggest kick for me was, I'm glad I don't ever want to have to use it, but the fact that we have 2 new ones to take to outdoor events at middle schools, because they're on the wall by the gym. So at East Middle School, you have to go quite a ways out there to the track, and so being able to have this nice big portable machine to use in an emergent situation is pretty amazing, and kind of gives me a little sense of relief, especially since I'm going to be coaching 8th grade cheer again this year, so at East Middle School. But so just nice to have that. So we have 21 AED machines total throughout the district. And then I have finally made a connection with one of the firefighters at West Peculiar Fire Protection District, and he is going to help us become certified in instruction of CPR so that we can help with staff members and some of the students, because I believe the students are having to learn that now as part of their high school education. So I just think everybody should be able to do that, because you just never know when it's going to be needed. So I'm excited about that, and 2 other nurses have expressed interest, so we're gonna start that here in a couple weeks. Professional development, the CPR certification, the health department, we worked with them. It was not in this year, but the March of 18, we got to help with an exercise with them to create what would be a point of distribution if there were a mass outbreak of something bad in the air. And so we had the kids that needed their meningitis shot come, and they got to take pills as well as the shot. So it was a 2-tiered process. So it was just the verification. They checked whether or not the kids they had scenarios. So they got to check whether or not the kids had allergies, if they could take this medicine by mouth, if they could get this shot. And so it was kind of a neat experience to be able to help them with, because our gals at the health department are so kind and so great to us. They offer us so many resources, and they come to registrations and give shots, and they're going to be here again this year for both days of registration, so that's exciting. The manual I just keep adding to, because I just feel like the more we all know that anybody could walk into the health room and look and see this is how we do this and this and this, it's really important to me for the consistency and just the knowledge of having it. So I just continue to work and add things to that. Here are some of the goals. We were able to help with the attendance policy just by, simple as simple as teaching the kiddos how to hand wash properly so that they, are not carrying and spreading those germs. We were able to staff the health rooms. I think we had less than 10 times that there was, I think there was 6 to 7 times that there was not a nurse that was available if I was someplace else or if the substitutes or the agencies weren't able to cover. So I would like it to be 100% because, inevitably that would be the day that there would be something terrible. But I was pleased with that statistic and that fact that we were able to get it that much. And so my goals for the future is to keep the staff. So that 92% is just losing one nurse a year, which I would like to not lose a nurse a year. I would like, a nurse to be there for 14 years and be able to see the kids. I was fortunate, I worked at Eagle Glen and then moved to the high school, and so I got to see the kids as 5th and 6th graders, and then again as, bigger kids in 9th and 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and that was really fun for me. So I would, really like the nurses to do that. And then we help with physical night, and it's fun to see them because they're elementary nurses, and then these kids are big, grown-up athletes, and you're like, oh, I remember you, kind of fun stuff that we do, making those connections. And then to instruct the staff and some of the students, if necessary, on the proper use of the AED machines that we have and CPR. Future goals. These are still some of the, the wellness of just taking care of yourselves, eating breakfast, drinking enough water, eating right, washing your hands, washing your body, keeping yourself clean, all of those things. The trauma sensitivity, we're talking to Lori Rowe today about training and helping with the nurses just to kind of get on the same page so we all kind of have a plan for those kiddos that need some extra help in there. She's our mental health professional from Compass. And she actually came in today and we talked about a child because she was in trainings yesterday, and so she followed up with the young lady today that really has been struggling this week. Yeah, so she's great, and we talked, and I feel like I know enough, but I feel like I could always know more, and so just saying the right things and just having that awareness and that I'm here to listen and that kind of thing is important. Strong communication, appropriate, information, need to know. I've done a lot of immunizations for kiddos that have graduated. Can I have my immunization record? So just, being able to help them. The program scorecard, you can see we've had good numbers. Always room for improvement, but pretty pleased with that. And then the typical, haven't seen her yet. There any questions? Not near as exciting as Mr. Cruz is.
Well, we do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you think? I didn't volunteer for the polar plunge yet, though.
Okay, moving on to board meeting dates.
We have the schedule in here for you and for the community at large, just to make them aware. And we typically will meet on 4th Thursday for our regular meetings, but because of conferences, travel, and holidays from September through December, we'll be on the 3rd Thursday. We'll continue to have 6 work sessions, 3 in the fall and 3 in the spring. Those are typically on the 2nd Thursday. Appreciate the board's time and effort to be there. So we just wanted to announce this for the entire community in case anybody would like to attend. And if not, you can always watch them on videotape.
All right, moving on to our board committee assignments.
Likewise, at the recent retreat 2 weeks ago, we talked a lot about committees and committee structures, and so I appreciate board members volunteering to serve above and beyond what the meetings require. Lots of exciting things going on in the district, and the committee process is important to get the feedback and the stakeholder involvement. Looking forward to the long-range facility planning process, which is one we've added for this year for a point of focus, and all the other committees you see there are recurring ones that we've had before, but they all serve an important function in advising the board as a whole.
And just, to reminder to maybe the new ones on these, the point of your position on that committee is then to come back to the group as a whole and report back to us so that we know what's going on as well. And not everybody has to go to everything. So that's what we're doing there. So on to milk and dairy bids. Dr. Pettengill.
This is much more exciting than activities or nursing. But Sarah Chelberg really does an outstanding job as our Director of Child Nutrition. However, she's unavailable tonight, so I have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about milk. Child Nutrition Department did solicit bids to get RFPs for milk and dairy products. Anderson Erickson, which is based in Iowa, and Highland Dairy, based in Missouri, responded to the RFP. When all the calculations were done, there's actually about a $500 difference over the entire school year on a $165,000 budget between the two. The RFP did include the statement, which is part of our policy, that the district will give preference to Missouri-based businesses. And Highland Dairy is the vendor the district's been happy with for the past 5 years. So Child Nutrition, even though Highland is just a few dollars higher, is still recommending the Board of Education approve the bid from Highland Dairy to serve as the vendor for milk and dairy for the 2019-2020 school year, with the option for renewal over the next 3 years.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the bid for milk and dairy for the 2019-2020 school year from Highland Dairy with options to renew for 3 years.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? I think this is a good point to show how important our policies are sometimes for whenever, we get into situations like this. It helps you guys get your decisions. So thank you guys. All right, all in favor? Motion passes. Transportation eligibility. Dr.
Something I'm very excited about. I hear a lot from our patrons, and I think this is something that our community will appreciate. The guidelines for state reimbursement include only providing reimbursement for transportation to students living more than 1 mile from their school. An option that is available after some research for district consideration is to offer transportation to all students, regardless of their proximity to the school. There would be no reimbursement from the state for those students. However, after careful analysis of both the benefits of students, to the students, and the impact on the budget, it is being recommended the district make a policy change to provide transportation to every student that would like it, with students living within the 1 mile boundary being transported at district expense.
This was something that we talked about at our retreat a couple of weeks ago, is how this discussion got started. Any other comments on it? I think we're all in agreement it's a good thing for the community as a whole, so. Is there a motion?
I'll move to amend district policy to provide transportation to all students regardless of proximity to school.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, guys. All right, Dr. Pettengill, Stonegate site work change order.
Right, as you're aware, the board has approved in the past quite a bit of site work that went along with the playground replacement at Stonegate. However, and we had originally had quite a bit bigger scope of work that needed to be done that we had to value engineer back for budgeting, so we weren't sure how the bids would come in. And then once we did it, we realizing there was a reason that we had all that work on there to begin with. The potholes and the pavement around the area that we were working on was also failing. We also had an area that was not ADA appropriate, working with a parent in the district that brought that concern to me. We really felt that was a need that needed to be addressed. So, after identifying the additional needs, the district is working with the existing contractor, Ray-Pec, who's currently completing the site work associated with the new playground to complete the additional work. So, I just needed approval of that change order.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the change order number 1 in the amount of $75,299 from the Ray-Pec for additional work at Stonegate Elementary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pettengill. All right, physical education and health curriculum approval. Dr. Volker, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So, this year, as a part of our regular curriculum review process, we took a look at our PE and health curriculums. So in doing so, we take a deep dive into that curriculum to ensure it meets our rigorous standards here at Rainbow Peculiar and complies with state standards as well, so our students are getting the highest quality education possible. If you open up the initial document titled PE and Health, that is it. Thank you very much. You'll look at it, you'll see our team was comprised of 2 elementary, 2 middle school, 2 high school PE teachers, members of my department of academic services, and a member of the Remote Procure Board of Education, Mr. Lowe. So thank you for serving on that. We appreciate it. Members are assigned to specific grade levels to review the areas included here on our rubric when we're looking at our power standards, our learning targets, our journey maps and our units, our assessments, and then alignment across all of our grade levels. So if you go through that, you'll see it's noted that we reviewed every single grade level in both physical education and health at a very high level. You might note that you see health at the elementary level. You'll see the 1 denoted that it's implemented and completed at a 25% level. That's because it's truly embedded. It is a part of the PE curriculum. It doesn't stand alone as its own curriculum. So you do not need to be concerned about that. And in fact, if you dig a little deeper into the other document, it will list out exactly our health standards. When you start scrolling down a little bit farther and you get to where health is its own standalone class when you get to middle school. So you'll see that we've taken a very deep dive. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see our offerings at the middle school and high school level in physical education and health. They are extensive. Our students have a lot of opportunity to explore these content areas, and we went deeply into the curriculum. We'll talk a little bit about some areas for growth, areas of continued improvement. Curriculum is never finished. We like to think that we're done with the curriculum review. Great. We constantly review our curriculum to make sure that we're up to date, we got the best teaching practices, and our kids are getting the best education. So we'll continue to do this in PE and health as well. If you scroll on down, there are questions that we ask in this process that start with, have we followed our process? So in that, has the vertical team, our teachers across all our grade spans in the district have a chance to look at that? Has our review team take a deep dive? Did we reach out to our parents and our community to get input? And we did. We survey our parents. We actually had 13 responses to that survey. We had many times. Physical education and health, sometimes when you get into different contents, you'll see things that might be a little more controversial, or parents will take a deeper dive. We'll get more responses for math, in all truthfulness, than you might for physical education. But we still got 13, and honestly got some great feedback. We really did get good feedback. For the most part, they said our curriculum looked very comprehensive and looked high quality. There were some suggestions, one in particular I think I'm absolutely in our committees looking at, taking to heart. One proposed, could you give some examples possibly of some resources, just not every resource, but some resources maybe at different levels that you could link into the survey so parents could at least take a look. What does that resource look like? Or even say, these are the websites of the resources we use if you'd like to take a look in the review process. I thought that was a great idea. So we'll look at trying to incorporate those. We answer the questions. It does align to our state standards. There aren't really or weren't any significant pedagogical changes or content changes with PE or health. We do have some, as you'll see on question 5, what could be considered maybe a little bit of a controversial topics. For example, reproductive systems, STDs, sex trafficking, sexting. A lot of these things are required by state law that they're taught in our curriculums, but still, we think it's really important that we inform our parents that we're teaching these components, and if they are uncomfortable in those, giving them the chance to do alternative activities or assignments. We do have some students and families that opt out of certain portions of our health curriculum, and that is fine, but the vast majority do not. So that's probably our area that we communicate the most about. So resources, question 6, that's the next step. So my very next presentation tonight, we'll be talking about social studies resources. After these curriculum review processes, then we talk about resources. So we want to review that curriculum first. The guiding questions that we have, overall, the data told us that we have a comprehensive curriculum. We are satisfied. We will continue to work. An area of common continued work is on aligning our assessments to our standards to ensure we're asking our students, asking the right things of our students and they're mastering the right concepts. We're going to continue to work on some of our newer courses. They're continually refining. When you create a new course, you'd think all of it's refined at the highest level. Well, we are very demanding of our curriculum. Frankly, in our department and in this district, our process is pretty demanding. So we still continually have to work on a course as we go for a number of years. So our final conclusion, the quality work has been completed across our PE and health curriculum. Curriculum's ever evolving. We'll still have work to do on our PE and health, but we believe our PE and health curriculum is ready for Board of Education approval. Do we have any questions?
Thank you for all your work. First of all, yeah, great job, and that looks very comprehensive. I just actually learned something yesterday that made me think about our curriculum. We do have a learning target of something like I can describe social, emotional, mental health. Have we or could we consider working with our mental health professionals? The thing I learned is that I was asking someone about, you hear this hot topic of self-care. I don't know if it's a real thing or if it's a buzzword, but anyway. As it was explained to me, self-care, that's like using this fidget spinners or doodling or what have you, right?
It can be many things.
It can be
yes.
many things. It can be anything that it can be eating chocolate, I guess, for that matter, right? But the concept that was shared with me was that, that works if you're like a 1 to a 3 out of a 10 on your stress or what's happening, but there's a physical component to it. And that you actually do have to get up and do something physical, walk. It doesn't have to be exercise. And so working something like that into our curriculum, I mean, if that's accurate, it was a mental health professional, but I'm sure there are many opinions on that. But do we need to, look into that kind of education for them actually, not just I can identify mental health, but what do I do from a physical aspect of that?
Absolutely. And that has actually been brought up by our mental health professionals and as a part of the mental health task force. How do we work this in to our curriculum? So self-care and our teachers are educated on what they could do in the classrooms. We really have taken off at the elementary level, kind of on the brain break, like that, giving your mind and kinesthetically the ability to de-escalate or sometimes reinvigorate. But at the secondary level, I'd say we probably have a little work to do. I think it's a great point and one we'll definitely look into.
Well, and I think that touches back on, you always hear about having more PE time, especially at the elementary
Yes.
ages, for that activity
Yes,
level.
you do.
So, do I have a motion to approve the physical education and health curriculum?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. And thank you to your committee for all their hard work on that.
Absolutely, I will tell them.
On to secondary social study resources.
Well, hello again. I'm filling in for Dr. Barr, who is in Europe, I believe. So that sounds fun. I think on an anniversary trip. So yeah, congratulations to her. That's exciting. She led the social studies resource review team. You'll see them listed. There are secondary teachers. This was a 612 social studies resource review. It was determined at the K-5 level that currently our resources are appropriate for social studies, so we're looking at a 612. And it has been a number of years since we have updated our social studies resources. So it is absolutely was time. We went in 2016 and 17 and actually did the curriculum review process. Took some time looking at, and we were implementing math curriculum and we were other curricular areas, so we took a year in between. That is absolutely time, and spent all of last year reviewing social studies resources. So that team took a deep dive, and if you'll see our process is outlined there, what we're trying to accomplish in that, steps 1 through 5, and then finally that culminates us with ranking our social studies resources. If you'll scroll even farther down to the list of social studies priorities, we've kind of went a little too far, but we're looking at primary resources, for example, inquiry and connections, differentiation. Those things are included. So we create a very comprehensive rubric. So when we are looking at resources that we know, we can judge those across all facets of what is quality social studies instruction. And our teachers determine those rubrics. So our teachers are saying, we need to make sure we have scaffolding and differentiation. Are assessments strong? Do they have good resources? Is it sustainable? All of those things are scored by that committee when they're looking at those resources. So they know and trust it's going to be the highest quality resource for them and for our students. So looking at that, they did that this year, and they brought in, if we'll go just a little bit farther down, 5 different social studies resources. And when we're looking, we're often looking at trying to fulfill, let's say, 6th through 12th grade with one particular resource or one particular company that provides resources. But we don't always believe that's most appropriate for our students. And this is a good example of that. So in the process, if you look at the scores, it quickly became apparent that HMH resource, and I believe they used to be Houghton Mifflin, if you want to talk about textbook companies from the past. You might remember that from when we were in school. Looking at it, that was the most appropriate for that 6th through 9th grade. And we think that's odd. Middle school is just 6th through 8th. Well, 9th grade is the second portion of the American history class. So it really made most sense to look at it from the 6th through 9th grade and then start with world history in the 10th and go on up. Well, they found a very clear separation in the scores from the 2 resources. So in looking, the committee has recommended that we, in 6th through 9th grade, purchase Houghton Mifflin, or HMH is what their technical name is now, and use the Pearson products starting with world history in 10th and moving up through the rest of high school. The committee was very comfortable, and really it shows clearly in their scores that these are 2 high-quality resources, but if we just selected one would wane at the secondary, at the high school level, and the other wasn't as strong at the 6th through 9th grade level. So they thought the best solution to that would be to split it. They really do believe that moving from American history in the 9th grade to 10th grade world and on would not be a problem switching that resource, but the quality of resources at the were different. So they wanted to select the highest quality resource for our students. So looking at that, if we just scroll to the bottom, the secondary team is recommending HMH as the 6th through 9th grade social studies resource for board approval at a cost of $177,491.57. And Pearson is the 10th to 11th grade resource at a cost of $73,970. The total cost is $251,460.07. This reflects an approximate $30,000 combined discount given by the companies as we work through that. HMH and Pearson resources have professional development included in the price, which is always important. In addition, HMH and Pearson have agreed to allow us to pay the resources over 2 budget years, 1920 and 2021, while providing all of the actual resources at the beginning of this school year, so we can have them for the upcoming school year. That was a mouthful. I know that was a lot of information. I apologize. Do you have any questions?
When
as
you
we ask
say
for
resources, is that physical books and online access?
It's usually
So the
physical
students
books
have
and
both
online
options.
access, yes. I will make sure I was not, this is Dr. Barr's committee. That's pretty standard in our resources. So if I am incorrect with that, I will come back and tell you I am incorrect with that. So I don't want to present that. But that is fairly standard now.
It was part of the scoring rubric, so them
Yeah.
being at the
Okay.
highest, I assumed it
It's-
was in there.
Yeah, it's fairly standard. I would be surprised, but I can certainly let you know if it is not. I know the teachers and the committee felt very comfortable moving forward with the resources as presented.
Well, and I just know for some people, having that physical book is easier for them than trying to read it online.
I will definitely check on that. It would be the 10th, it would be the secondary, the high school one that I would be most concerned about, but I can always check.
So what's it's a pretty huge cost difference. As far as.
It's just grade spans.
Grade span.
Yeah,
as far
you're
as-
only dealing with 2.
Okay.
It's compared to the 4. It's really actually, it's fairly comparable. If that was 4 grade spans, it'd be a little less.
Okay.
It'd be about 150,000 instead of the 177.
Mhm.
It really is. Textbook resource costs can vary considerably when you go from company to company. Sometimes you'll find a product that is it's really high quality, and the company is absolutely aware of that. So the cost will definitely vary. I think both of these resources, just knowing what I know about curriculum resources and their cost, are fairly priced. I would say this is a fairly reasonable cost for a grade span resource from 6th to 11th grade.
So do our seniors typically not have a history class?
It's very much elective at that time, and it can be course specific. You don't have to. You could could be in the psychology, it can be in sociology. There's a lot of other options. And we usually at that time go on a course-by-course basis. I mean, if you're a criminal justice or law enforcement, for example, the teacher went, no, this is the resource I need. I do not want to be switching resources right now. But it'd been, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it'd been well over a decade since our social studies resources. I think I don't want to get the exact number wrong, but I'm going to say well over a decade since we've changed our social studies. And no, it is not okay to say history doesn't change. It is not okay to say that, so please, I know you won't. There's a lot that changes and evolves, and besides the way we present the material to students and the way we support our teachers does change.
Would
tell I'm a
assume in
little
10
passionate
years,
about
there's
that.
some additions that need to go in there too.
Yes, some changes.
Okay, do I have a motion?
HMH is the 6th through 9th grade social studies resource in the amount of $177,491.57, and Pearson as the 10th through 11th grade resource in the amount of $73,970.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank
on
you.
her.
Our teachers will truly appreciate your support. They really will, absolutely.
All right, professional development plan. Dr. Volker
Yes, thank you again. I'm going to have,
and Mrs. Rick.
Carmen Ricker come and begin the presentation, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget and the calendar.
Good evening. As Dr. Volker said, my name is Carmen Ricker. I haven't met Mr. Hallett yet, so I work with the academic services team, and one of my jobs is to co-facilitate the professional development committee with Dr. Volker. So the professional development plan actually comes up each year because we have to approve the calendar and the budget. Those are the big pieces of the plan. But our priorities and a lot of the bulk of the plan that was submitted to you is actually done every 2 years. So we only are going to highlight 2 of our biggest things today, but you are certainly welcome to ask us questions on any component of the plan document itself. We utilize our strategic plan to focus our strategies and priorities as we build our budget, as we build our calendar, and as we work with our teacher committee. We have recommendations that come from the committee itself, which are teachers, classroom teachers. We have surveys that we send out after each professional development event, get feedback there. The last few years, we've had board members also join us for our meetings, and so we've received their input as well, and that's what helps create our ideas and thoughts in moving forward with making our plan. Each of our members goes back every month and kind of takes information from each meeting and gives a reflection to their committee or to their teachers about the committee's work, and that's kind of how the communication flows. We've got several professional development opportunities throughout the district, whether they are in a whole group, district-wide setting, mentoring programs with new teachers, grade level or content-specific collaborations. These are just a few pictures of some of the things our teachers can participate in throughout the school year. As I mentioned, our priorities span over 2 years, and we take those from the strategic plan. So some of these might look a little bit familiar. So under the Success Ready students, we are trying to find opportunities for teachers to have kids have hands-on learning opportunities, and what types of professional development might our teachers need to allow that to happen. We want to be able to expand our STEAM opportunities, so same thing. We want our kids to have those STEAM opportunities, but our teachers might need professional development. How does that look throughout the year? Looking at soft skills development and expanding on our mental health supports. So all of these things are included when we have those conversations with our professional development committee. So when we're looking at those professional development days, we pull some of those priorities as standalone things or ongoing things that our teachers are going to participate in. For high quality staffing, increase workplace satisfaction and feeling of value among staff, as well as support the ongoing pursuit of job-related training and advanced degrees. So some of these, just like the strategic plan, it takes several years to get going, and we're just in the infancy with our professional development committee finding opportunities for our teachers as well.
Quick question while
Yep.
you're right there. So will teacher externships play into this area, or will it play into somewhere different?
It could be a little bit of both. We could have some opportunities where we partner with our professional development committee to get those externships available to them, but then there's going to be some HR components that are going to fit into that as well, so we kind of have to have a dual role.
Team approach, yes.
Absolutely, great question. So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of our proposed calendar. Dr. Volker's going to go into more specifics on this slide. So as you can see, starting very early, and not too long away, we have Pathways to Reading for our new staff members that Dr. Hoffman and her team will be leading. And you can see specific opportunities right out the gate that we'll be providing our teachers information about the district and learning our programs and such. Something to note, we do survey our staff members after each opportunity. And so this year, compared to 2017 and 18, we actually had an increase in how our staff felt about our professional development. So we take two qualitative numbers. No.
Quantitative.
Quantitative.
I was like, I
Let's
promise
start
it's
over.
It's quantitative. but
It's
that's
quantitative,
okay.
because we do qualitative too. We do, yes, we do both.
It is, we do both, but this is definitely
Yes, I'm going to start over. Okay, we took two specific survey questions in which they rate us. That gives us the quantitative value. So we did increase from 2017-18, 4.19. This year we had a 4.27 on how the valuable learning experience was for our staff. And then the second question is, I will be able to apply the information in my work with students and our adults. And again, we saw an increase from last year, 4.25 to the 4.28 this year. I want to point out, we had 2 professional development days in June because of snow days. And so to still have positive gains when you're giving professional development in June to teachers, you know, kind of made us a little happy.
Yeah, we wouldn't design it that way if we.
If we could avoid
It's not the first option, just so you know.
So we were still happy with our results based on that.
Our parents thank you for the willingness to defer those days so that
Yes,
they
they
can
do.
have kids in school.
And that was on a
Absolutely.
scale of 1 to 5,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
So moving honestly to even start at a 4.19 and then progress upward is a pretty incredible feat. We're getting to the point where I truly am concerned that on a 5-point scale, if you're at almost 4.3,
Yeah.
moving upward is going to be pretty difficult. So
Would this be an appropriate time? I have a question about the legislatively driven training that they want. So like the dyslexia and stuff. Where does that play into the calendar? So like when we're talking to our legislators and saying, stop, enough is enough, we can show them this calendar of how much they already have on their plate.
Sure, absolutely. A lot of that we try to do during the pre-service days, and Dr. Hoffman takes lead on that with some of her team members, because it's important to have that training done. And because we do have our calendar set sometimes before the legislation says, oh, by the way, now we need you to do this, a lot of times we do have to put it into those beginning days, which is a challenge as well, because part of Team Ray-Pec and the PDC calendaring is a partnership, because we want our teachers to be able to have a third of professional development, a third of their time with their building principal and the nuances that happen there, and then a third of the time getting ready themselves for students. So to your point, Ruth, when more and more are put onto us, then it gets harder to share that time.
We've also moved as much of that kind of stuff to an electronic format
Yes.
online to where it can be more flexible and they can pick it up when it suits their schedule better.
Absolutely.
So.
Dr. Hatfield has done a wonderful job of finding things that we can pursue online and allow staff to do that
we're gonna
PD and their
talk about that
PJ
even
type
more
thing.
in our
Well, and
budget.
it helps us to be able to show a calendar like this to them of, hey, they're already full.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we have plenty of information we could share with you that would help that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Moving on quickly, before I turn over to Dr. Volker, is our preview of our budget. And what I wanted to note to you is we aligned our budget to our strategic plan. So when you see the abbreviation AS, that refers to a specific action step in the plan. FA is, of course, a focus area. And then we have a strategic goal at the bottom, towards the bottom there. So those are what those letters mean. So that just kind of shows, again, our connection to the strategic plan that you have developed recently.
And we talked to our teachers about our connection and really set that as our focus. It really helps us continue to row in the same direction.
Well, and I should qualify what I said. It's not that we don't want our teachers to be informed and our students, but they're already doing training on dyslexia and a lot of those things already. It's already embedded in what they do.
Correct.
But to make them specify that sometimes is a challenge.
Absolutely. So I'm going to let Dr. Volker go specifically into how we developed our budget and our calendar.
Well, our budget process, if Michelle, Ms. Stidham would pull that up for us in our budget document, is a long one. We review and reflect essentially all year. It feels from how we are setting our budget dollars, how does it align with our strategic plan, what are the results, the data, academic results, what are the survey results, what is the information telling us, so how we adjust from year to year. Of course, in a growing district, as the number of students grow, our overall budget grows, our professional development allotment grows with it as well. So we're looking at approximately a $20,000 increase from last year to this year, looking at our overall professional development budget from $242,000 approximately to $262,000. So looking at that.
And that represents 1% of our state formula funding.
Yeah, so as we grow, and hopefully as a district, and it looks like we will continue to grow, our professional development commitment and then therefore budget will grow along with it. So looking at that, some areas to highlight and some areas of change, and it's hard to see on this, but we align ours with our guaranteed environmental curriculum, our assessment areas, and our different professional learning communities. Questions? Probably our biggest change in the first area is that when we're looking at guaranteed and viable curriculum, we had a professional learning communities focus that we will keep, but we were spending close to $30,000 to have trainers come in and work with our building leadership teams on that professional learning community focus. Well, that focus, that training is no longer offered. We are then taking that dollars and talking to the professional development committee and reallocating that. And one area we're looking to reallocate that is actually an online training. So as we talked about just previously, online training is growing. You're able to differentiate. Your teachers are able to select, have choice. Administrators are able to look and say, where is our building? What are our building needs? So we're adding that in. It's actually an ASCD online training at approximately $24,000. It was almost little less than an even swap with our professional learning communities focus. We did have our professional development committee test that out. They were impressed with the resource, so I'm excited about that. We're always looking for ways that we can innovate, and in the future, if we need to provide professional development in a different time or space, even that we can learn and grow in that way. So we're excited about that opportunity. Really, our big focus areas are looking at trying to increase that flexibility and choice for our staff. We've also increased our electives allocation. So we have elective teachers that we spend a lot of time and energy, like for example, math. We are committing a lot of professional development resources and dollars to math, which makes sense relative to the academic focus that we have in that area. Sometimes we don't have that same focus, or, excuse me, I misspoke. Sometimes we don't have that direct alignment. We don't earmark specific dollars for all of our elective areas. You should see how many elective areas we have in this largest school district. So what we've done, and we're increasing that because it was popular, we're setting aside specific professional development dollars for things like music, for things like the arts, so that they're able to access that at the elementary or the secondary level, so all the professional development dollars might not have been taken. So they're specifically designed. Our elective teachers truly appreciated that opportunity and started to experience more professional development because we had that earmarked for them. So I think that was just popular, and we're going to continue that. I think another area, if you look and scroll down to PLC, or you can see it question 3, that extra differentiation, support, and intervention. We're just realizing we need to continue that training and that professional development focus. So you'll see there's a considerable increase in that third area when you're looking at behavior and behavior management, and how we can support our teachers with how to deal with incidents of disruption, behavior management, classroom management. Those are things that we need to earmark professional development dollars to, and we have increased. And the same thing when we're talking about specific core content areas. We absolutely pay attention to how our students are doing across academic areas. One way to improve that is to provide additional professional development to our teachers in the areas such as math, so our students can get the highest level of education possible, and our scores will then rise. Well, that was very quick. I know it's a lot of information. Does anybody have any specific questions about the budget document before I go on to the calendar? Okay, I know it's a lot, so I'll quickly go on to the calendar. So in the calendar document, this is provided for you just to give you a better snapshot of every single professional development opportunity that is built into our day. Starting with our pre-service, even beginning with convocation, you can look on there and see how it's outlined. Ms. Ricker talked about our pre-service days really being divided. Our staff has worked hard. How do we have equitable time to accomplish all the things? We didn't have a structure to do that. We have since, in the last, I think, 2 years, gone and found that a third, it really has been equitable. It's been fair. Teachers need time in their classrooms. They also have big ticket professional development items that they need to get access to, and then they need time with their buildings to build that collaboration and support and culture. So we as a professional development committee have divided those pre-service days in a third, and you can see that noted, and it's been very popular. One thing that we've added, if you scroll to the bottom of that first page, you'll see we have a kindergarten preview day. We'll have that for the first time and built that in. So we're excited to see how the little ones do on preview day. A lot of them come to summer school, which that is awesome. That has truly helped our first day of school. But we're also now adding a preview day as a support for kindergartners. So we're excited about that. And then as you keep going through that document, you'll see a little more specificity on February 18th, March 23rd, and April 13th. These topics to be considered. Now, we still put topics to be considered, even though we have an idea of very much how we want to approach it, because we want to be responsive to our teachers. So if in our fall professional development opportunities, they are telling us we need more of this now through the feedback tools that we ask, then we're going to try and make adjustments to reach that. So we try and be very responsive to that. And I think you see that. That's why those survey results, even in trying times when you're having professional development after kids have gone, that our results our folks work hard to try and differentiate, to try and provide choice. It is very difficult to try and differentiate for 500 certified staff and our classified staff on Dr. Pettengill's side. He's working hard to provide professional development to them as well. It's a tall task, but we're absolutely up to the challenge and continuing to try to improve. Does anybody have any questions about our professional development calendar, the budget, or overall plan? Next year, you get a more in-depth look, but this is our off-cycle year, so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
I noticed in the budget, just ask a question.
Okay.
The high school, middle school elective, and then the elementary elective rotations. Is that, I know it's equal 4,000 apiece, but is that equal of what they need? Because there are so many more options at the high school level.
So this year,
Go ahead.
we kind of based what happened with this year's budget based on what happened last year. And we actually had more of the elementary request the funds because the elementary building budgets are smaller because we base it by personnel, the number of personnel. So your middle school and your high schools have a lot bigger budgets that can cover more at the building level than the elementary. So because of that, we just still kind of left it that 50-50 because ultimately the secondary this first year didn't use all their money. We actually voted to put it back out, and elementary used a little bit more of it. So we just kept it split.
And with anything new, I think our staff was still becoming acclimated.
Yeah.
We try, and our professional development committee teachers present to their staff and say, we have this available, and these are great, and sometimes they hear, but it takes a couple years to access. We're just beginning really to see them really want to access. So I would not be surprised if this were just larger next year too.
Right. And the other part of that for the secondary, because some of those electives are also tied to extracurricular activities, there's a funding from a different source too.
Well, and I think people forget, we're very fortunate in this district. A lot of smaller districts have to take half of their money from PD to put it towards transportation and other
Yeah.
things because their funding just isn't there. So we're very fortunate. We're able to keep the 1% for PD. All right, is there a motion? To, go ahead.
I move to approve the 2019-2020 professional development plan as presented.
Is there a second? All in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Project Lead the Way laptop bids. Dr. Volker.
Okay. Well, I am filling in for Ryan Gooding this time. So, good evening again. In January, you approved career enhancement grant applications to request state funding to support Project Lead the Way cybersecurity and medical intervention courses. We recently received approval from DESE for these grants. The first bid approval requested this evening is for our Project Lead the Way laptops. We are recommending approval for purchase of 25 Dell Precision 35041 laptops with a 3-year warranty from Dell for $27,197. This was the low bid in this case. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any technical questions for Dr. Volker regarding these devices?
So we'll, you,
Oh, I knew you were going to do that.
so will we get part of this back then with grant
Oh,
money?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And these grants can be 50-50 or 75-25. So you get a significant portion of it back. That's why it really is a positive. And we're adding some great classes. So I'm just excited about the whole process. I might not be the person to ask about the technical specifications.
Is there a motion to approve the bid from Dell for the purchase of 25 Dell Precision 3541 laptops with a 3-year warranty in the amount of $27,197?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. All right, Project Lead the Way desktop computers. Dr.
Desktop,
Volker.
and we're talking about desktop, this would be for our cybersecurity class. So we're asking for approval to purchase 24 Dell Precision 3430 small form factor desktop computers with a 4-year warranty and 24 22-inch monitors from Dell for $25,899.84. As in the previous purchase, this was the low bid.
What color are they?
I think they are gray. Do not know what color they are, being truthful.
All right, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the bid from Dell for the purchase of 24 Dell Precision 3430 small form factor desktop computers with a 4-year warranty and a 24 22-inch monitors in the amount of $25,899.84?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Or any more discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you
Alright.
very much.
Thank you, Dr. Volker. And we're on to the 2019-2020 budget.
And no, I am not Cindy Bias, but I will gladly stand in for her this evening. She had a family emergency come up this afternoon, so we worked very closely on the budget throughout the course of the year. And the reality here is you are now, tonight, just confirming all the decisions you've been making over the last 6 months. We go back to during the wintertime, we start talking about capital improvements that needed to happen this summer, to staffing positions and new programs that we've approved previously, to the salary schedules and benefits packages that we've approved in April. And so all those decisions, including some of the bid awards you're seeing this evening, are all feeding into what is now our overall budget. Cindy does a great job with her team of putting this document together. It's about 175 pages long. There's tons of information, much beyond what's just financial within that document. It is constructed in a way to meet the requirements of the Meritorious Budget Award Program through ASBO International, our professional organization. And it's intentional to be that way because of the types of information and the depth of the information that's included within the document. So we've had for the last 4 years received the award, and I suspect this will be worthy of that award again this year once it's submitted later this summer. Some of the highlights that I would point out, we're really focused on the strategic plan, so we have a whole section in the document that talks about how some of our major decision points are connected back to the strategic plan and what our focus is there. We are also trying to stay aligned with what we promised our community in terms of Proposition RP. So we have about 20% of those new funds that were supported by the community for success-ready students. Those are additional staffing to keep class sizes very manageable. It talks about new programs and supports that we offer students throughout the district. The high-quality staff piece is really about recruitment and retention and the salary schedules that we offer, and we've made significant improvements, enhancements there the last couple of years. And then the fiscal responsibility piece is the ongoing facility maintenance that we've essentially doubled that part of our budget because of the support from Proposition RP. That overall staff salary increase was about 5.6 for certified staff and 6.6% for support staff. We had several areas within the support staff ranks, and Nurse Johnson mentioned the nurses in particular that received additional increases because of the market comparison that Dr. Pettengill worked through with Team Ray-Pec during this school year. So those are some highlights. Pretty significant here that we're adding a total of nearly 27 FTE to the staffing plan for the entire district. Big chunk of that, of course, is just regular classroom teachers to support our ever-increasing enrollment, and a few new programs like strings would be included in that. In early childhood, you see 4 FTE. That's 2 classrooms for special education, which each include a teacher and a paraprofessional. Our new K-8 alternative program, Success Academy, has 6 additional staff in addition to a few that were reallocated from other locations. Certified administrative support includes an admin intern at the elementary level, an instructional coach in math, and then taking one of our counselor positions at the high school up to full time. And then our support positions include additional staffing and maintenance, custodial, and the HR department as part of that. So put that all together, it's a pretty significant investment. And overall, it'll help bring class sizes, at least maintain them as we grow in enrollment-wise, and probably bring them down a little bit overall across the district. And then we mentioned again that we've doubled our capital maintenance budget from about $1 million worth of projects per year to 2. We've done that now for the last 2 years, and we have that kind of built into the system now. Hard telling for sure if that's going to be enough long-term. We are starting that long-range facility planning process this year, and that will kind of help inform when we might be out for a potential bond issue in the future, and whether or not we need to include more maintenance projects beyond what we can support through this regular budget process. In terms of the overall budget numbers, just a quick highlight, we have 4 different funds for 4 different purposes. The general fund takes care of a lot of our operational items other than teachers and certified staff. Collectively in that operating fund, we are in a net positive of just over $500,000. So we have, if you're asked, do you have a balanced budget? The answer is yes. We have a small surplus built into our budget for the coming year. The teachers fund pays for certified staff and tuition, and that fund each year is zeroed out. So we do enough transfer from general fund just to make that zero at the end of the year. Capital projects, again, has about $2 million worth of projects in addition to some lease payments. Slight surplus developed there in that fund, but we kind of keep that generally in balance and transfer money as needed to that fund. Then the debt service, very little change in the overall balance there. We've got our debt service levy scheduled to basically make the payments that it needs to make for the year and kind of keep us at a status quo position. So when you put all those 4 funds together in the far right-hand column, you'll see we're a positive nearly $600,000 across all 4 of those funds, with most of that really happening in the operating fund. We'll touch on what the balance impact percentage-wise means here in just a little bit. In terms of where our revenue comes from, the biggest portion of that is local funds, and of course our property taxes is the biggest part of that. That used to fluctuate close to 50%, but with Prop RP funds now we're up above that, about 54%. One of the questions that the board will address in August is setting our tax rate, and I know there's been a lot of reporting in the news media about how assessment property values have gone up significantly and people are worried about their overall taxes going up. I will tell you that the assessment is only part of that equation. As a school district or any other public entity, when your assessments go up overall more than the consumer price index, you end up having to lower your levy. So we expect that to happen in our budget planning. We're expecting our overall levy to go down by approximately 25 cents because of the property values going up. So your value may go up 10%, your your taxes may only go up 2% or something like that. Of course, every individual taxpayer is different based on how their property is assessed. So if you had a 50% increase in your values, yes, you'll probably pay a little more. If you had a 4% increase, you might actually pay less if you were less than the average of the group. So various impact there. The state funding is our other biggest source, and obviously the formula is the biggest part of that. And that's driven by both our enrollment and what level it's funded, and the state has funded the formula fully the last couple of years and expects to do so next year. Transportation is another question. Appreciate the board supporting their action tonight to include everybody. The district going to pick up an extra roughly $50,000 worth of transportation costs related to that, but we think it's a good trade for the convenience and safety of our families. So we're going to move forward with that. We also report our fund balances. It's a measure at the end of the year that tells us how much money do we have left in the bank in our operating funds compared to what we spent for the year. And you've seen that, we went through 2012 through 14 or 15 being fairly stable, and then we made some intentional use of reserves and made some investments in some things that we thought were important until we got back down to what our current strategic plan range is of 18 to 22%. And so for this current year that we're just finishing, we had a decent surplus built into that budget. We think we're going to exceed that, probably end up, instead of 18.5%, might be closer to 20% once we close out the books here at the end of the month. With our slight surplus, it actually shows the percentage edging down just slightly, and that's just simply because the overall budget grew by a pretty significant amount as we made those other investments that we talked about. So, but collectively, we're going to be right in that 20% range. We think that we have targeted through our strategic planning process is what's normal for us. That's about 2.5 months worth of operating expenses, to give you some context there. So that's kind of a quick overview. Again, the more important decisions you've already made as a board. At this point, we're just asking you to confirm those in this budget document. I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can.
I think it's important to remind everyone that, 75-ish% of our budget is teachers. So the biggest chunk of our money goes to our teachers.
Yeah, salary and benefits for all staff is approximately 75% year in and year out, and we're a people organization, so we have to have good people, and that's where most of our funds are committed to.
Well, and thank you and all your staff for all the work on the budget. It is a year-long process and a lot goes into it, and I'm very proud of our budgeting process and everything that goes into it, so thank you.
Hopefully we'll have them back in September to be recognized for the MBA award, hopefully. So,
Is there a motion to approve the 2019-20 budget as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, guys. On to the board policy 4121.
this is second reading for this policy. It's a simple change to allow up to one more year of additional credit for a teacher that's coming in new to the district. I think it'll help us in terms of market competitiveness long-term. I would expect to come back each year for the next several years by adding another year. We didn't add lots of years all at once because we want to make sure somebody that comes in doesn't get ahead of somebody who's already been here. So that's kind of the plan or thought moving forward. That was a recommendation from Team Ray-Pec as well.
Is there a motion to approve board policy 4121?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, guys. On to committee reports. Being that it's summer, we probably didn't have any committees that met over the summer. So on to superintendent's report.
Just a few items I would add this evening. Our summer school program is wrapping up this week. Another great program. I think the kids really enjoy kind of the change of pace that comes with summer school, a lot more hands-on project-based stuff. And I think the benefit for us is I think more of that will translate into the school year as well. So our staff gets a chance to try out some new things, and our kids do as well. I think it's really valuable. Numbers down just a little bit maybe from previous years. I think the long school year kind of contributed to that effect. But we had some students that were here longer by taking morning and afternoon classes or some online courses at the secondary level. So overall, we'll come back to you with a report later about the overall program in the early fall. Congratulations again to all those students we recognized tonight, even though some of them couldn't be here, obviously. with their summer activities and travel and the like. We'll have some more next month. Our kids continue to do great things, and it's one of the funnest things we do to recognize them for their efforts. I also want to congratulate the board for earning the Governance Team Award again this year. I think that's like 7 out of the last 8 years. Demonstrates your commitment to ongoing professional development and support and learning for your role as board members in support of what our kids and staff do here in the school district. So thanks for that commitment, and we'll add another plaque to the wall here as soon as we get a screw in the wall. So, and then thanks again to Cindy Bias and her team for putting the budget document together, the 175 pages. And, you know, we work on it early, and her team works on it for months at a time. It always comes down to the last few days of getting it ready for deadline because it's such a big project. But they really put a lot of time into it. They do a good job with that process, and it's a collective effort from folks all across the district to help inform that process. So we appreciate their efforts. Thank you.
On to Board of Education comments. Quiet month. All right, calendar of events. July 24th, registration, 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the South Middle School. July 25th is our next regular board meeting at 6 o'clock closed, 7 o'clock open. And July 30th is registration, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at South Middle School. And if there is nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting and have a good July.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.